friends, welcome back to my channel after a short break. If you're new here, my name is Agnes and I work as a data scientist and live in Kochi. On this channel, we discuss diet, experience working in tech, basically a lifestyle channel at this point. So in today's video, I want to discuss about gluten-free diet. So I am on a gluten-free diet for it's been 3-4 years at this point. So a lot of people ask me why are you following a gluten-free diet? Is because you are generally health conscious? Is it good for health? Is it a fad, or is there any benefits, things like that? I just wanted to talk about my experience and how I became gluten-free. So I'll be talking about how it helped me, especially my hormone balance, how it helped me balance my hormone, what's the science behind it, things like that. I'm planning to film this episode like a podcast or long form content. I love long form content. There's something that connects you to the speaker. I don't know, I just love it, and it's basically an experiment. The whole channel is an experiment for me. I'm just going to try that format. Let's get started with the video. I'll give you a little background if you're watching this for the first time. I have told this many times on this channel in some videos, but I am a Malayali and I was born in a beautiful village in Idukki, which is very nearby to Munnar. Munnar is a tourist destination, so you may know it. It's a village which is on Western Ghats. Temperature is amazing and it's a very beautiful place. That's where I was born, and traditionally we have a rice-based diet in our home. Everything was basically home cooked. We had very less processed food. So that's how I grew up. But since I was a child, I had some random allergies and sinus infections and a low immunity basically. Everyone thought it was like it's normal. Everyone thinks it's normal, and children do get sick a lot, but parents don't bother about it so much. But I have had some reactions to some food, but nobody, it was not very extreme, so nobody really took time to do a test or understand what causes it. It just happens when you're a child. When I joined engineering, I had to move out of my parents' home and go to a hostel, and there my diet changed drastically. So I started eating like a little bit of processed food like sandwiches, rolls, buns, bread, a lot of bread, chapati, things like that. When I was in third year or fourth year, I started losing a lot of weight. I started having this fatigue, chronic fatigue. I was always tired when I'm sitting in the class. I couldn't fall asleep when I am trying to fall asleep. That's called wired and tired, because you can't sleep but you are having like sleep problems, but you basically are, you are so tired all the time. I didn't think much of it. I was young, so I thought it, I didn't know what it was. I thought it diet or some changes, and after engineering I kept it there for like 2-3 years. It went on and I completed my engineering and went back, and I started to eat so healthily, started eating a lot of proteins to reduce weight and things like that. I didn't have any weight, but I wanted to keep the weight that I had. I was not super skinny or anything. I was at a healthy weight still, but I wanted to keep it like that. So I started eating so healthy, and I started eating a lot of chapatis or rotis. After a few months, my hands start shaking. I don't have any energy. I started getting even more fatigue. At that point, I knew something was wrong with my body. It's not supposed to happen when you are in your early 20s. So I was 21 or something, and I realized it was not normal. So I went to Google and searched by giving my symptoms, and they said it's either a thyroid dysfunction or it could be a nerve damage. I went to the lab and got tested, and thyroid levels were so high that my TSH was basically 0. If you ever tested thyroid, you know this. They'll give you TSH, T3 and T4. So TSH is the hormone that tells your thyroid to produce thyroid hormones after checking the levels of your hormone in your blood. When your TSH is so low, your body is telling your thyroid gland not to produce any thyroid hormone. Gland is producing excess thyroid. The most common condition, which is a hypothyroidism, the opposite of this, where you gain weight, you basically have the same kind of symptoms. Also, I had a lot of hair loss. said that when I was in college, but we thought it's change in water. It's not. It's hormone imbalance when you have a lot of hair loss. So with my result, I went to the doctor and he suggested a few diet changes like avoid cabbage, avoid cruciferous vegetables, things like that. And so he put me on pills and I started to, take care of my diet. But I kind of wanted to know what's happening in my body because I was so young. I didn't understand. I felt like I was eating comparatively healthily. So what's happening? And I'm a very curious person. I'm a data scientist, so you know the type. I want to understand everything and anything. It's just my nature. So I went and started doing my own research because doctor didn't tell me anything. He couldn't explain why that was happening. He said it's genetic, maybe it's some reaction. Nothing was definite. I started doing my own research, and at first I was getting things like avoid cruciferous vegetables, things like that, very generic advice. But after a while I stumbled upon these podcasts. I think it's Doctor's Pharmacy by Mark Hyman, which taught me a lot. He's a functional medicine doctor, and then I stumbled upon Tom Bileyu's health theory. He has a segment in his podcast which is health theory. He invites these people who are experts in specific fields, and then he interviews them. I got exposed to that. Also, I got to know about Dr. Alessio Fasano's work. He basically discovered sonulin, which is a compound that helps control your gut permeability. I'm not going to explain the complicated parts here, but basically for some people, gluten protein can enter your bloodstream because your gut is very permeable, which is basically called a leaky gut, and your body starts attacking these gluten molecules and they misfire and attacks your organs like your pancreas, your thyroid, things like that. And at that point your antibody levels will be so high. So I went and tested my antibody levels and they were off the chart. So I discovered what was happening in my body, and I just wanted to try an elimination diet. So did an elimination diet. It was so hard to do an elimination diet because typically when you do an elimination diet, you have to avoid all the allergens. For example, dairy, egg, grains. If it's possible, grains was not possible to me because I used to live with my parents and grains are the staple. Like rice is a staple food, but I couldn't avoid it. So I kept grains, but I avoided main allergens like eggs, gluten, dairy, and I reintroduced them after 2 or 3 weeks. And gluten had the worst reaction in me. I knew there's something going on with. At that point, after a few rounds of hormone blockers, I was off the meds. Started noticing that whenever I eat something with wheat in it, I was experiencing the old symptoms a day after or 1 or 2 days after I eat this. And I started playing with my diet and I removed gluten from my diet. So wheat, barley, rye. Barley and rye are not common, but wheat is very common in biscuits, cakes, in a lot of stuff. Also, there are hidden gluten sources like sauces and things like that. That's when I learned that you have to know cooking to survive. In order to have good quality food, you have to learn basic cooking. I started learning cooking and I started altering my diet, and I basically healed my gut and I got my energy back. It was gluten for me. So I'm not saying if you skip gluten and if you remove gluten from your diet, your life is gonna, all of your chronic diseases are gonna disappear, but it's not like that. So basically, thyroid is a very sensitive organ and it can react to so many things that goes on in your environment, in your life, and in your body. So trauma can lead to thyroid dysfunction and mercury poisoning or heavy metal poisoning. A lot of things like that can lead to thyroid dysfunction, but wheat is a cause for some people. Now then, after realizing all this, I started to think about my genetics, and my dad's side of the family always had this kind of hormonal problems and gut issues. So it does make sense. I do have the genetic component. But after having this experience, I started noticing people who has problems with their thyroid, and chronic diseases, especially thyroid hypothyroidism, is increasing on a very drastic level. There are many causes definitely, but gluten can be a trigger. That's all I'm saying. It's really difficult, I understand, because you will have to eliminate biscuits, cakes, bread. If you are a dessert lover, you will suffer if you try to eliminate gluten from your diet. I'm not. I don't really like sweet items. I'm more of a savory food lover. So it was a bit less challenging for me compared to someone who loves those stuff. That's how I became gluten free. I haven't tested for a gluten intolerance yet, because if you test for antibodies against gluten, if you're gluten intolerant, they will be positive, but there are tests for that. But at that time I couldn't find any test. I can, because I'm almost all the time gluten free. If I eat gluten, I can feel it for like 1 or 2 days. Just I'll be so tired, and that kind of tiredness is different. You won't have any energy. If I don't eat gluten, I don't have any of that symptom. Also, diarrhea is also a culprit. Diarrhea does affect me in some ways. I don't know how. It gives me like skin rashes, eczema. So I don't consume dairy on a daily basis. I do eat yogurt once in a while. Yogurt is already in a pre-digested form, it's fermented, so it helps a little bit. Conventional dairy is also not that great for you. If you are gluten free, I have a few resources that will help you learn about this. There are some talks about these problems, the underlying mechanisms, how gluten affects our gut, our immune system. These things are discussed in some of Alessio Fasano's videos. Also, like, there are good podcasts that you can listen to regarding health, building a balanced, healthy life, not like not eating disorders and things like that. Just be balanced. So I'll link all the resources down below. There are two more points that I want to discuss, because if you are gluten free, or if you want to try gluten free diet, and if you have a child who is gluten free, a few habits that you have to learn are checking the ingredients. So there are other ingredients in processed food like emulsifiers, for example. They might act like gluten protein, so you might have the same reaction. They are in everything, like plant-based milk, chocolates, everything. So check the ingredients and select the ones where you can understand the ingredients. For example, we have a chocolate. When we have a chocolate, I go for chocolates with just simple ingredients like chocolate, cocoa beans, cocoa powder, butter, or sugar, things, simple ingredients like that. This is an example. Or for example, peanut butter. Peanut butter doesn't need any other ingredients actually. So in order to keep them creamy, they might add emulsifiers and thickeners and stuff like that. So if you can avoid it, avoid them. Read the ingredients, learn to read the ingredients. That's one thing. Also, there are gluten in a lot of sources. At this point, I have tried so many diets, and my favorite one is Paleo. So in Paleo, I substitute like the carbs with sweet potatoes and plantains. In Paleo, you can't eat any grains, legumes, and things like that. Just vegetables, fruit, and sweet potatoes, root vegetables, things like that. So that's the perfect diet for me. I think it's balanced. It gives me a lot of energy and no gut problems. And my skin was so clear when I was doing that diet. But it's not that sustainable in South India. Whenever you go out, won't be an option like that. It's Paleo, and also it's very expensive to get groceries like sweet potatoes every day and avoid all the grains. It's just not sustainable here. But if it's ever possible, that's a really good diet for someone who's suffering from gut disorders and things like that, in my experience. So everybody's body is different. I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or anyone. It's just my personal experience. So the generic advice that I would give is listen to your body. Your body wants you when it feels bad, and don't ignore it. or you may like fell into other complicated problems afterwards. For example, if it goes on, the thyroid becomes underactive and then you develop hypothyroidism. If it's happening with your thyroid, there's a great chance that it would happen with your other organs also. So for hypothyroidism, you can take hormones, but taking hormone therapy doesn't solve any underlying issue. So it just keeps the symptoms away. That's all. You have to, I'm not advising to treat yourself. Definitely not. Just don't take extreme diets without the approval of your doctor. Find a doctor that works for you, who listens to you. Just listen to your body. It will give you signs when it's going down. So the whole thing that I learned from this experience is that your health is basically your responsibility, and health is so important to enjoy life to its fullest, because when you're unhealthy, your only wish is to get healthy again. Health is so important for the quality of your life. No amount of money, no amount of material things can make you feel energetic and healthy and active, like a good diet and good habits, good exercise routine, things like that. So develop good habits, live an amazing life. If you want to watch a video about how I become a data scientist, it's a different topic, but if you're interested, if you are in a situation where you are looking to make a career change, or you are trying to choose a course or something like that, I have a video on this channel. I'll link it here. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe for the algorithm. See you in the next video.